Razabani for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm delighted to have with me, with our weekly catch up, my man, the knowledge himself, Mr. Spencer Fearon. Spence, how we doing?
I'm good, I'm really, really good. Yeah, blessings to speak to you. So yeah, I'm good.
Good bank holiday weekend?
Yeah, spent it with my children, as you do. And yeah, it's been exhausting. But it's also a blessing as well. So, but it's been exhausting. I was watching Spider-Man with my son, like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So my son's a big Marvel freak. He just loves anything to do with Marvel, but he's never watched those. Was it the trilogy? So he's never watched those. So yeah, it was cool.
Is he a big boxing fan?
No, he's not actually. He doesn't care for boxing. He likes to write. He writes books and stories. You know what I mean? And like, so I'm really proud. He's gonna be 10 at the end of the week. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
One decade. Spence, firstly, apologies. I know we attempted to catch up yesterday, but I was obviously away from my laptop yesterday. So yeah. Good to catch up today. I just want to obviously go back on Saturday night. Good show on by Frank Warren. Good to see boxing back in Birmingham and good to see fans in the stadium as well. But a lot of controversy at the end. I'm going to jump right in the deep end. Ennis-Brown and Sam Maxwell built up to be a great little matchup. Great. They've had obviously the press conference and we saw how heated that was. Before we go into anything, I just want to ask you one question. What was the scorecard that you had at the end of the fight?
At the end of the fight, I had it 117-112 for Ennis-Brown. That's how I scored the fight.
Okay.
So I get 5 rounds.
So you hear the ring announcer give it unanimously to Sam Maxwell. All 3 judges give it to Sam Maxwell. What was your kind of instant reaction?
I was at a neighbor's birthday party. So I watched it on the BT app. And I couldn't hear what was going on. I couldn't hear the commentary, but I know I'm judging. I know what I'm watching, and I just see Sam Maxwell do this, then put his hand up, and then yeah. So I didn't hear any of the comments afterwards. It was only when I went back home, and then like straight away, I tweeted was bullshit. And this is nothing against Sam Maxwell at all. I like Sam Maxwell. I'm not going to begrudge him becoming a British Commonwealth champion, right? But we have to be honest, right? I have to be honest. I can't help it, right? So, and I've said this many times, like the truth tastes bitter to a belly full of lies. The wrong person got the decision. And I wouldn't mind if it was a close fight, then I would say it was close. Sam Maxwell didn't even get off from like to about round 4. He didn't even get off. So I had him losing the first 4 rounds. And then I watched the fight again this morning and listened to the commentary as well. And the commentators, Richie Woodall, they were comprehensively going for really rival Ennis-Brown. And then to hear Carl Frampton say like, no, disgusting, right? Now this is Carl Frampton knows boxing. So the British Commonwealth title has lineage. The Lonsdale belt is the most beautiful title in the world. Aesthetically, if you look at the belt, right? You're messing with somebody's livelihood because when you look at someone like Ennis-Brown, his style of boxing is a so-called style of boxing. We call it as it is. Him coming from, back in the day in the 80s, you had a guy called Tony Lang, who's Colonel Lang's brother. Colonel Lang famously, but he passed away recently, but Colonel Lang famously beat Roberto Duran in 1982. If you watch, he's kind of that hickory-dickory style. Maybe it is that to the incompetence of the refereeing that they don't understand that style. But if you go to the British Border Control rule book, it says how fights are scored. And if you hit with the flat of the knuckle, that's this part here, more times than your opponent hits you, then you should win the round. It's also to do with stylistic interpretation, and maybe the judges don't know how to interpret that kind of style. And if somebody's just pressing forward but not doing anything, and he wasn't getting any success, I'm not putting a dampener on Sam Maxwell because I've got nothing against the guy. I really like the kid, right? But he didn't win that fight. And these things are hurting the sport. But I'm saying now, just for instance, the border control want to be very, very careful, because all it's going to take is somebody with influence, money, and power to open their own board of control to rival what the British board of control have, right? And all they have to do is get affiliated with the IBF, the WBC, IBO, WBO, and WBA titles, which is not hard to do, right? And then it will really throw the cat among the pigeons, because it's things like this. We could see last night when you saw Jake Paul versus Tyrone Woodley, yeah? Look at the crowd. For two men who are novices in professional boxing. But look at the crowd. Now I'm saying boxing is going to lose out to UFC because we see these things. We don't see these things. And I'm not a UFC fan per se, right? But if you see in the UFC, the best fight the best, right? Also in the UFC, you don't see like you're hearing, we don't hear, oh, it was a robbery. That's very, very, it's not a frequent thing. Now, something in the module, I'm telling you now, like, I remember when Al Heyman started off the PBC, and they were saying like, what Al Heyman's going to do is going to throw away about these titles and make his own title, right? Do you remember that? Everyone was saying that. It was whispered, oh, that's what Al Heyman's going to do. Right now, what Eddie Hearn with DAZN, don't be surprised if Eddie Hearn doesn't eventually do something like that. Because what was it? When what was it? David Haye versus Derek Chisora, when they both fought each other, what was that? 6 years ago, not 7 years ago. When they both 8 years ago, when they fought each other, Derek Chisora was on a ban from the British Border Control. Do you remember that? Because of his behavior with in Germany with Klitschko, right? And the fight which broke out between David Haye and Derek Chisora, you know that. David, I'm going to personally shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. Remember that, right? All right, cool. It was banned from the Border Control. The Border Control didn't license that fight. Was it Luxembourg or Malta? One of them licenses.
Luxembourg,
right? That officiated that show. And I remember the Border Control said any fighter that will be banned, and that was a trade. So therefore, don't think that can't happen again. And more so for the thing of the betterment of the sport, because the Border Control need to start having true steward inquiries to these things. Because what's going to happen, unfortunately, is that Ennis-Brown isn't a big enough name, right? Or it hasn't got a big enough support for people to rally behind him to say, nah, this is bullshit that happened to you. You got robbed of a title. And because of his awkward style, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to be put back in that position, right? Because he's aligned with a management team, which is MTK Global, but he hasn't got a promoters team. And the guy who had the promoter, who signed the contract with Queensbury, was actually Maxwell. And what a shock that he's the one that gets the decision when he shouldn't have gotten a decision, because if you watch that fight, it's very, very difficult to give that kid 4 rounds. Hard to give him 4 rounds. He did rally strongly in the last 3 rounds. He did rally hard, but he didn't do enough to win that fight. So if the Border Controller held accountable, right, and they had to answer to somebody else, that somebody else was governing the Border Control, and like every time something like this was to happen, then the Border Control were fined and they had to pay for it, I guarantee you that they'll start fixing up these things, right? They'll start fixing up how certain referees and judges can be that lackadaisical. And it's not me having a go at the judges per se, right? Because the thing I'm saying is this. I remember Archie Moore, former light heavyweight champion of the world, who's got the highest knockout ratio of any world champion, right? This guy fought throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? He was nicknamed Ageless Archie Moore because he's an incredible, great champion. And Archie Moore said he's never seen a fixed fight. And this was a man who was fighting at a time when the mob in America controlled the boxing hard, but he yet said there was no form of rigged fights. This is Archie Moore. We're flipping the page, and I'm on the same thing. Like there are no rigged fights. But when I see things like this, then it's hard for me to turn around with a straight face and say, well, it's not rigged or people ain't receiving brown paper bags, right? I don't believe people are receiving brown paper bags. But what I am saying is it's incompetence of the judges. And if the Board of Control were fined, I guarantee you, watch how quick it'll be cleaned up. And it's not me having to go out, because I know a lot of the judges, and I know personally, I know, right? And referees. I'm not having a go, but you guys need to fix up for the betterment of the sport, because boxing going to lose out. And it's losing out because everybody knew that was bullshit that we witnessed. And that's that. So if the Board of Control were held accountable for certain decisions that there was a delegation team that were brought in, every other sport has evolved, right? This sport in boxing, we've evolved when it comes to the health and safety. Yes, I give it that. But what happened for the health and safety for it to be fixed was September 21st, 1991, when Michael Watson got stopped in the 12th round against Chris Eubank and went into a coma, right? From that time there, then afterwards, when he came out of his coma and the whole nation was praying for him, he sued the British Board of Control. The British Board of Control used to be at London Bridge, right? They had to move to Cardiff because of the payout that they had to give to Michael Watson. But they came to some settlement agreement for him, right? But he's mad money. So I'm saying, like, for that, when it comes to health and safety, the Board of Control have improved. But when it comes to the fine deals of the fight, without two fighters fighting and feeling that they feel safe, that I'm not going to get jobs, this is not going to happen to me, then what's going to happen? What's going to stop fighters or guys who had that ambition to say they want to be professional fighters and go to other sports where they'll feel protected, they'll feel safe? So something needs to be done. And I'm telling you, it isn't going to be long before somebody says, you know what? Maybe Eddie Hearn says, you know what? I'm going to start my own Board of Control, right? I'm telling you, or some other people, big organizations say, well, let's start our own Board of Control. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So we need to fine tune and brush up these things so fighters and the boxing fan can feel safe what we're watching.
Spence, we've seen other sports, top of my head, football, cricket, tennis, rugby. They've all kind of moved to technology advances to help them support them. They don't rely solely on that. Obviously, there's a referee that's still in charge and runs the game, but they've got these other technologies that they can help assist to make the game better and fairer. And I don't really have any ideas in my head, but could technology come in to play and help these judges?
Most definitely, because it's quite simple. I remember regularly in the UK, we use ConcuBox and we don't use it anymore. Have you noticed that? We don't use it no more, right? And even though, but it just gives a fairer assessment of what we're seeing, right? And boxing is the only sport that hasn't grown with technology. Every other sport has. Football has. Tennis has. Go through the sports, right? Even snooker. So why is it that why can't boxing evolve with the time? You know what I mean? Why can't people be pulled up on the decisions that they've made? Right. It's not good. It's not good. And I'm going to say again, it's not a sniper at Sam Maxwell, but we've seen this quite regularly on quite a few fights, right? Well, I don't want to call no names because like certain fighters that got the dubious decisions are actually my friends, right? So I don't want to, but I'm just going to be real with you. Like, regardless of that, we need to fix that. It needs to be fixed.
Spence, do fighters need to be more vocal as well? Ennis did an interview, Akeem did an interview with IFL, and his response was, obviously he wasn't happy, but he said, it is what it is, I want my rematch. But should there kind of be more aggression, more vocals in him to say it was...
I know Ennis-Brown. And you know what it is? Sometimes you need certain people around you to say, no, you got to kick off. Do you know what I mean? And it is like, well, I don't think people are going to like me anyway because of my style and all the rest of it. So I don't want to ruffle no feathers. And this is what we do. This is because when you're in this thing, and it's a system that we're in. We're in like this big matrix. We become very subservient to the matrix, right? And that's what he's done, because he left that ring. And the only reason why I'm speaking to you is because like one of my really good friends was at the fight, Rob Stanley, and he goes to me like, "Nah, Spence, you got to kick off on this one. I mean, you got to talk about this one, bro. This is a liberty." And Ennis-Brown left that ring crying. He cried, right? Because he felt that was an injustice against him. Now, whether he's not going to air that opinion, so, you know what I mean? And you know what? You're meant to cry. Because you're going to sit down and think, well, am I going to get another chance at my title? And allegedly there's meant to be a clause in the contract for a rematch and all the rest of it. But it wasn't a scintillating fight. Right? It wasn't like, oh my God, did you see that fight and the wrong guy got it? No, he boxed to the way that he boxed, which is awkward and it's not really fan friendly. But to the purist, when you look at it, it's very skillful what he's doing and what he demonstrates, because Sam Maxwell can punch, right? He nullified his punching power, right? And he was touching him up all you know what I mean? Let's hope he gets that rematch.
Let's hope so too. Just a quick one, Spence. Obviously, Anthony Yard made his ring return back on the card. You know the camp well. You know Tunde very well. I did see a lot of this.
I know no one.
I saw a lot of criticism towards Anthony Yard on the level of opposition that he was fighting, but Anthony made it clear after an interview that said, "Listen, this was no prep for Lyndon Arthur. This was for me. I just wanted to get kind of under the lights again in the ring and just let my hands go."
Quite rightly so. But you see, with Yard, anything he does, he can't win. He shouldn't have fought when he fought Lyndon Arthur. He shouldn't have fought Lyndon Arthur when they fought. He was going through a lot. So obviously I'm going to give him a blight to say, yeah, this was just for me to get a blowout job. I got a blowout job, which he did. And that's that. Hopefully he gets that rematch October the 9th against Lyndon Arthur. But I'm going to be real with you. I don't think Lyndon Arthur is going to take that fight. I don't think Lyndon Arthur wants that fight. Not that he's scared, but I don't think he wants that fight. I think he's in a strong position with the WBO. I think he's ranked number 1 now. So I think that he's going to try to push for the Joe Smith fight. I don't think he wants Anthony Yard again. And I'm going to be real with you. I wouldn't take that rematch. If I was Lyndon Arthur, I wouldn't take that rematch at Anthony Yard, because I believe Anthony Yard will be coming with that fire this time here. And I think it could be a continuation of what we saw in the 12th round when Anthony Yard finally said, "Right, let me just open up you." So if you did that in round 12, you could, in a rematch, you could do that in the first 3-4 rounds. And you got James Cook in your corner now as well. You know what I mean? Former British and European super middleweight champion, MB, who really does know boxing, but he's that kind of quiet, reclusive kind of person who ain't in the cameras to talk spiel and all the rest of it and blah, 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 blah. He ain't none of those kind of things. Right. Nah. And he's working the way that he's working with Tun. I want to take that rematch. And that's no disrespect to Lyndon Arthur. I'm just saying, if you want to be smart, don't take that rematch now. Try and win a world title, then take the rematch. But if you're contracted, and I believe that he's contracted for a rematch October the 9th, I think that's meant to be in Birmingham as well, then honor your contract. You know what I mean? Honor your contract.
Okay, all right, Spence. I'm sure we'll catch up a bit later on in the week. Always a pleasure catching up with you, my man. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll definitely speak soon. Spencer Fearon, IFL TV. Thank you very much.
Let me just quickly end and say, at Aces in Clapham Common, the homeless shelter. So I'm going to be there all of next week with MTK Global Foundation. Should have been there from last week, but my mother was in hospital, but she's out now. She's cool. And I'm going to be out there. So anybody wants to go give a helping hand, just Google Aces Homeless Center. Come down, help, donate, help out the homeless people. You know what I mean? It's seriously, to be able to give, it's a beautiful feeling, and you go home really rewarded.
Absolutely. Spence Fearon, IFL TV, thank you very much.